Hello, hello, hello. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're waiting. Just sent Jorge the speaker invite. Let me do that again just in case. $24. How you doing? Thanks for being here with us. This space is recorded. So for anyone that wants to re-listen to it, wants to share it to a friend who probably couldn't make it at this time, it'll be uploaded. It'll be available on Twitter as always. It'll be uploaded on YouTube shortly after. But just want to lay some ground rules here. What's up, JRP? How you doing? Thanks for joining us. Jorge, thanks for coming up and accepting the speaker invite. But just some ground rules. This episode is brought to you by Vertical Blocks. It's a series as part of the Phantom Foundation that covers everything Phantom blockchain and also across the crypto ecosystem. And that is why today I'm honored to have Jorge as a guest who I admire as a friend, as a thought leader in the space. Uh, we have an episode coming up after this on Phantom Edge, which is a series that I host as part of the Phantom Foundation. And we cover a very short interview, but we cover different things from AI to crypto to being a creator to being a CEO, and getting to know Jorge a little bit more and getting his thoughts on different aspects. So that's pretty much, today's conversation is going to be around AI, crypto, content creation, and anything in between. So I hope you guys are excited. I see some familiar faces. Graham, how you doing? Thank you, Pablo, Jose. Who else we got up here? The Inevitable Hulk. Thank you guys for joining. So we'll start shortly, but I hope you guys enjoy this episode. And don't forget to follow Jorge. Don't forget to stay in touch. And if you guys ever have questions regarding myself, reach out, and I'll be more than happy to respond and connect. So that being said, Jorge, how are you doing today, my brother?
Hey man, how you doing, brother? Pretty good. What about yourself?
I'm doing well, man. I'm super excited. It's Monday. And I was
I
excited
know,
to
right?
to kick off the week with a conversation with you, man, and excited to drop our episode, which will be available after this talk. But thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me, Jorge. And I know these are topics that excite us. As mentioned before, we've been in communication for a while now, probably for the last 2 years, maybe.
Yes, we.
I don't know. Time flies.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, almost like 2 years, man. Like we probably was start getting in each other's radar before the bull market started, I guess, or in maybe in the middle of it, and then here we are, man. And it's always a pleasure to engage in conversations with you, man. I love exploring your mind. I love always the topics that we discuss.
No, man, it's mutual, bro. I really appreciate that, and it's all love. So let's get started, Jorge. I think a great start would be to have a short introduction, have yourself introduce yourself, tell us what you do in the space, and a little bit about yourself, man. We'll start there.
Sure, man. Absolutely. My name is Jorge Perez. I have been in the business world, or I have been an entrepreneur for the past 10 years. The last eight, I have mainly been focused and dedicated those 8 years of my life to running my own marketing agency, Byron Labs. Right now, we're doing a whole rebranding. I recently hired a CEO, so I'm no longer in charge of the agency. Somebody else taking is like, uh, you know, controlling the day to day operations of the business. And like I said, I have been in business for the past 10 years. While I had the marketing agency, in parallel, I also created a bunch of businesses, like side businesses. I have BYRN Digital, which is basically the umbrella company that is in charge of all my digital e-commerce businesses. And then I also have a clothing line called Loco Ivory. Uh, and that's what I have been doing for the past 10 years. In crypto, I was exposed to crypto around 2012, 2013. I was in and out, but fully I came back in 2016, 2017. And then after that, I have been very heavily involved in the NFT space since it barely started to be created, or since that scene emerged around 2000, yeah, around 2017. Yeah, 2017, 2018. So yeah, that's pretty much me. And right now, here in the space, I'm building along with my co-founder Giovanni Rodriguez. We are building Latinos on Chain, which is pretty much a media company that it's dedicated to create content for speaking Spanish speaking audience. Basically, we want to bring these type of conversations into the Latin community, and that's what we're doing. We're just creating content, trying to provide value to people, and trying to make sure that these conversations that we're having in English also happen in Spanish. We that's what we want. We want one part of our mission is to make sure that we Latinos are part of the first wave of adoption and not the second wave like we normally are with every single other technology out there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the great introduction, man. As you can tell, I'm fully aware that you do a lot of stuff. Like you said, you've run the agency for years. And in our conversation, in our episode, you talked about the current status of it, hiring a new CEO, and then obviously now with you're also a creator. You have two newsletters, one that's about
Yeah,
AI,
that's
and
a crazy part too. Sorry, I forgot about
yeah.
that part. It's so new to me that it's like sometimes I forget that I'm now a creator as well. So yeah.
Absolutely, man, and I just want to emphasize that because anybody in the audience, a lot of us here on Twitter, uh, essentially have the essence of a creator, right? If you send out a tweet, you're putting a thought out there. Maybe you're in the phase right now where you want to up your content creation, or up your level of writing or video or whatever it may be. Like for example, I see JRP doing amazing things with his Twitter around gaming and stuff like that, right? So, Jorge, that kind of leads to a question of mine. As a content creator, and not to get so trapped in just that name, right? Because I know a lot of people have like, oh, you're a content creator, this and that. You're more than that. But as someone who creates on the internet, what is something that you encourage people to kind of harness early on, so that way they could stay consistent as you've been? Is there anything that you've learned along the way that you would like to share to other aspiring creators?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it has definitely been a transition for me. Like I said, I have always been in advertising. It was paid advertising, so basically, you just put some money in the ads and you put it in front of people. So it was content creation for companies or for brands, but in a different, I guess, scale. Now, when it comes to creating content for yourself, it's definitely different. It's massively different. And number one, the first thing that you have to understand is that it takes time. With traditional advertising, again, you put some money into the ads and then you put in front of people and then you get the audience. But then you have to retain the audience, and that is up to the brands that I work with. In this case, now that I'm creating content, I realize that it takes time. It's a process. So first and foremost, I will say create systems and understand from the get-go that this is going to take time. So don't try to create content every single day if your lifestyle doesn't allow you to do that. So make sure you figure out what works for you, something that allows you to create content, be ahead of it, start putting content out there, and just keep on going. And as this becomes your number one revenue stream, as you start making money out of this, or once you start actually making an income out of creating your content, then maybe you can up the volume. But a lot of people I see that they try to start creating content and they go crazy. They go overboard. They try to create much more than they can actually produce, and it's not sustainable in the long term. So I will say number one, create the right systems that allow you to put out content consistently and constantly. That's more important than volume. Don't worry about volume, just worry about being consistent. I will say that would be my number one advice.
Yeah, I think that's good insight because the volume part has always been something. I mean, you hear people say, put out content," and it's tough. Creating is really hard, and as much as people, it's also very fun. So I'm glad that you add that contrast and that insight. To kind of go to the topic of the space, around AI and crypto. I mean, you have two newsletters, obviously one around AI Supernova, and then you have crypto one, Web3 and Corto, right? Which is pretty much short bites
Correct.
about Web3 in Spanish. I mean,
Exactly.
these Jorge, these are two industries that are moving at light speed, right? Writing, you have to do a lot of research. How are you keeping up? Like, how? I mean, you started with Web 3.1. Everything moves so fast. A day, uh, a lot can happen. Same thing with AI. I feel like every day there's something new. So how are you making sure you're providing valuable resources to your readers? And how have you yourself been able to say, "Holy crap!" Like, how am I able to ingest all this information at once?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You are 100% correct. It's this both of these industries they move at lightning speed. So, but what I do is I leverage technology. So I basically structure a workflow. For example, for Web3 and Corto, and pretty much the exact same thing I do for the AI newsletter. What I do, I utilize Notion, and I also utilize Zipper, and I utilize ChatGPT. So what I do basically is just create my workflow to where I put a bunch of different websites that I really like, that I really trust. I basically put their RSS feed into the Zapier web. It's like a work. You can create workflows on Zapier. That's what I do. So I basically put all those websites into that Zapier, and then I ask ChatGPT to create a summary of every single new article about NFTs, Web3, etc. I also put the SSR feed of different newsletters that I follow. So basically, I create a workflow to where at the end of the day, I have pretty much a page, a Word document page with basically a summary of everything that happened, the most important news um, that happened for that day. So I pretty much go through them. I see what I really like, what caught my attention, and I dive in more into it. That's pretty much what I do to be able to keep up with what's happening in both industries. And I do the exact same thing with the AI newsletter. Because yeah, you're right. There is so much information coming out every single day. This is moving so fast, so quickly that it's just pretty much impossible to try to keep up with everything if you don't leverage the technologies that we have available. So I will say it comes down to creating your workflows. You keep adapting them, keep adjusting them until like you have something that works for you. In this case, it works for me. I put all these websites into these into Zapier, and then I have ChatGPT to help me like create a summary of each one of those, and then once Zapier puts that into a Word document, then I just go through them, see which one I think is more interesting, and I do the research that I have to do manually. It's the because on the Web3 en Corto, which is the Web3 newsletter, I also mentioned a few of the most notable movements in the NFT market. Some of those I have had to go myself and research those, but that literally only takes maybe like 20-30 minutes of my time. But that's pretty much how I do it.
I want to take a moment to just emphasize because you just gave context to creating systems and you just explained a system here. For anybody listening, I think this is crucial because as much as you are in this tech scene, Jorge, you are also utilizing, like you said, you're leveraging the technology at your fingertips. You're using software that exists like Notion. You're using the feeds from these blogs or whatever other content source you're using, and you're feeding it to ChatGPT, and you're saying, "Hey, summarize this for me." All you have to do is essentially go and see what stands out to you, and really create a nice newsletter delivery for your readers. So I just want to emphasize that again because this is crucial because this is a very hard cold start for creators out there is figuring out how to filter content because content's always coming in. So how do you sort that out? So if you guys have time later, go back to what he just said about setting up that system because it's very, very crucial. Now, Jorge, to stay on that topic, I know I asked you as part of in our chat, but do you think I kind of want to see your elaboration on this? How do you see, and if you see, AI and crypto integrated? I've had conversations with other people, right? Some you get both spectrums. AI and cryptos don't mix. You get another one that says, crypto and AI are definitely you could do some stuff with it, right? So what's your take? What kind of give us some futuristic viewpoints of yours that you could see if AI and crypto could mesh, could not mesh. What's your take?
Yeah, absolutely. I personally believe that both of them are different technologies, and obviously, just like every other technology out there, you can integrate them somehow. Blockchain, crypto, at the end of the day, it's nothing but a database, right? That is immutable, so nobody can mess with it. However, you can always have an AI go through that database and get the information that it requires, so they can collaborate, they can work together. However, I think they are completely different technologies. On one end, we have the blockchain, which literally allows us to have that database that nobody can mess with, that we have access to. And out of that technology, you have different variations, right? You have crypto coins, and then you have NFTs. So Blockchain is one technology. Then you have these other two variations of that technology, and then you have AI. AI again, it's incredible how fast it grows. I was reading a little fact where around 2,000 apps, AI apps, are launched every 30 days, or have been launched in the past 30 days, which is insane, right? So um, again, just to summarize what I just said, I pretty much believe there are two different technologies. They can work together, but I don't think they are related at all. I mean, there is no. I understand why some people see them as um, AI being part of Web3 or Web3 being part of AI. To me, that makes no sense. They are two technologies that are completely different, but they can definitely work together.
Yeah, absolutely. I again, I think it's the conversation is needed. I think it's very early for both technologies. They're both fast paced, and I think these I don't want to say hard discussions, but these opinion based. Obviously, there's a lot of people that have really great ideas to use both of them, but it's very important to filter that, use your own judgment to create your own conclusions using these both. Obviously, it's clear that these are the new frontier in tech. I think we've already kind of agreed that that AI and crypto are here, right? Do you think why do you think maybe some people could maybe gravitate, or do you think that people could gravitate to AI more than crypto in an easier manner? And the only reason I ask this is because I personally think that crypto is obviously very financially driven, right? It's economic based, where AI is a little bit more consumer facing, a little consumer friendly, right? Do you think that is there a hindrance? Is there something that holds back crypto that AI has, like a superpower in terms of like mass adoption? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all know, right? Crypto has a learning curve that it's pretty rough. You have to learn different concepts, and then once you dominate those concepts, you learn new concepts. So it's the learning curve. It's pretty stiff. When it comes to AI, as long as you have a really easy to use interface that it's user friendly, anyone can use it. Everyone is using ChatGPT, even though 98% of the world has no idea that ChatGPT exists. If they wanted to, they could interact with it. And it would only take maybe 5 to 10 minutes to figure out how it works. Now, if you want to dive into prompt engineering, then that's different. That's a different story. You have to dedicate more time. You have to put in the hours to obtain better results. However, I definitely think it's a lot easier to interact with artificial intelligence because all you need is a beautiful user experience, and that's it. When it comes to crypto, we are getting there now. There is more. There are new dApps that are keep on creating the interaction with crypto a lot easier. It's a lot more friendlier. We saw the update that happened with Ethereum, right? Where now you're able to recover your wallets in case in case you don't you forgot your seed phrase, and that's great. That's a huge step for mass adoption. But when it comes to crypto, just like you said, it's more financially driven, so it requires more dedication. You have to be curious about it, and the reality is, at the end of the day, when it comes to people will probably end up using crypto. We know what's happening with the Fed now, how they want to introduce this into uh, with everybody. Like everybody, we all gonna have to interact with it, but people will never know that it's blockchain on the back end, and that's just how it's gonna go.
Yeah, man. I think it's one of those things, like you said, interface, right? And I think being in the space, as long as you've been in the space, as long as we've had conversations, and other people in crypto understand this, it's always about, well, what's the UI like? How can we make sure people have a good experience using crypto, regardless of the financial risk that it can induce. So thank you for your insight, Jorge. I just want to take a quick minute to just thank everyone that's been here. For those tuning in right now, for those that have been here for most of the conversation, thank you. I'm here with Jorge. He is a strategist, a creative strategist. He's also a virtual friend. I haven't met in person just yet. This episode is brought to you by Vertical Blocks. If you have not followed Vertical Blocks, it's all things Phantom Foundation, as well as all of the blockchain industry as well, with creative thinkers and builders like Jorge. So thank you guys for joining us. And if you please feel free to listen to the recording after, and also check out the interview that I'm dropping with Jorge later today. I'll be sharing that soon. So Jorge, talk a little bit about um your I put in our series, I put that you fired yourself as a CEO. Sometimes maybe someone hearing that could be like, what do you mean you fired yourself? And I think sometimes as a CEO, as a leader, the goal is to fire yourself from certain roles so you can delegate or manage other people who are probably better at that role. So can you tell me what you've been going through in the last couple of weeks, shifting your business, and as a creator, how has that shifted your whole mindset and your workflows?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm just gonna give a little bit of context just to be able to explain why I got to this point. So whenever I believe you and I first start talking, in my mind I had the idea to transition my Web 2 agency into a Web 3 agency. So I wanted to be really involved with Web 3. And the reason why I wanted to do the transition is because at that point I was already burned out. I was already tired. I was not excited to wake up every single day and go out there and kill it like I did at the beginning of my company. So I was like, you know what, this is my moment. I'm gonna transition it. I'm gonna rebrand it, and I'm gonna feel excited about what I'm gonna do every single day. So the more time pass by, because obviously I couldn't just shut down the agency. I had to keep on working on the contracts that I had at the time, and I had very long contracts. So it was going to take me around a year almost to finish those contracts and then do the transition to Web 3 fully. So while I was doing that, then I realized, you know what, this company, like, it's a good business. It's making really, it's profitable, and it would be pretty stupid for me to transition the whole agency into a Web3 agency and try to educate all the 129 people that work for me, uh, try to teach them what Web3 is, what blockchain is. And as we know, if you have been in the ecosystem for a while, you know that that's hard. If you don't hire people who are Web3 native, basically, that they came to the ecosystem by themselves, it's really hard for somebody to be in it. And it, again, marketing in Web 3, it's completely different than marketing in Web 2. So I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna keep the agency. I'm just gonna rebrand it. I'm just gonna at some point I'm gonna hire somebody to run it for me, because while I was, again, working, while I was going through this process, I realized that what I truly enjoy, and the reason why I had all these other businesses like the agents, like the clothing line, and all these different side hustles of e-commerce, it's because I like to build. I like to build things from nothing, and that's what I really enjoy. So whenever I have free time, I will start like a company. So that was kind of, to me, finally clicked to where, like, okay, what I really enjoy is to build stuff. It's not to manage the day to day operations of the business. So that's when it was easy for me to just start hiring somebody to run the company instead of me running the company. One, I wasn't into it as much as I used to, and two, even though I am really good at managing people, it doesn't come easy to me, right? I had to learn. It was a process. It took me like almost 8 years to get to where I am right now. And there is some people who literally are really good at it, and if you can get it, all they have to worry about is that managing people. As a founder, it's different. You have an emotional attachment to the company. You have to worry about many different aspects, and not just managing the day-to-day operations of the business. So that's when it was like uh, it was a really easy decision for me to just hire somebody, and that's why I fired myself as CEO. Now I have somebody running the day-to-day operations. Right now we're still in that transition period, so every now and then I join in case the new CEO has some questions, etc. But other than that, that's what I decided to do. Now I have more time, and it's interesting, right? Because in our conversation, I spoke about how I feel naked right now. I feel naked because I was being a CEO of my own company for so long. It became also like part of my identity, and now that I don't have that, it's not like I don't know who I am, but it's more like, okay, it's time for me to start all over again, and I like it, but it's definitely a transition period, and it's interesting, and I'm learning a lot about myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as I mentioned, it's very being a builder, being a creator, someone who knows how to generate revenue for a business. Like you said, there's an emotional attachment. It's something outside of you. It's almost like I'm a father. My daughter just turned 4. Once you have that, it's different. You move different. And some people, I forget who says it. I think it's Naval. He says, if you want to love something more than yourself, build a business or have a family, right? And for those that don't have a family, right, and have a business, it's the same thing. It's an emotional attachment. You don't want to let go.
And it's literally like my baby because I gave up dating for like 6 years. I was building my business. So like again, I was homeless because of my business. Then like I was able to keep on going. Then I built it back up. And it's like, so there was such an emotional connection with that, with my agency and what I was doing, that it was definitely like a transition period for me. And like I said, right now I'm excited because I, I don't the time that I recover, that I no longer put into the agency, now I get to put into other things that I'm building, like the newsletters, for example. Now Web3 is en corto. Now I'm gonna take it to the next level. Before I was just on Twitter every now and then, but now I get to like build a website, have a website with articles in Spanish. I can do more, and also I can now again create new teams, create new systems to make sure that that scales over time. Same thing for the newsletter for AI. I also dedicate more time into Latinos on Chain, which is what I'm building with Giovanni, and all these different things that I'm doing. I get to put more time into those things.
You said something that kind of grabbed my attention here, Jorge. I have a couple more questions for you, but I wanted to ask you this based on what you just said. You said, you were homeless, building your business. You also didn't have obviously a partner, and it took you years to build this. I'm curious, what do you think it is within you that says, you know what, I want to go build something else again? Sometimes there could be some like fear or builder
Right.
PTSD. Like what makes you say I want to go build something from the ground up again, knowing how it is from the get go?
Well, I mean, it's just the situation is different right now. Before, wherever money was coming into the business is the money that I had to put back into the business. So that's why I couldn't even pay myself. Like at that time when I went homeless, I was homeless for like a month. I was literally in Houston, Texas, in mid-summer. I was sleeping in my car outside of Walmart, and I will go shower at the gym, and then I will go eat breakfast with my mom, and that will be the only food that I will eat for the day, and I will continue working on my business. So in those first stages, I was figuring out how to be an entrepreneur, how to take that next step into from being an entrepreneur to becoming a businessman. So it took me 8 years to get to a point where, okay, now the business is making money. I have learned so much about business. I have learned so much about how to create systems, how to create teams, how to get out of my own way to be able to make things happen. So now that I want to start new things, it's a lot easier, it's a lot quicker, a lot faster. Now I have uh, my finances are a lot healthier than they used to be back then. So I can dedicate my time and my resources more effectively. And like I said, I have more experience. Before, I was trying to figure things out. And the only thing that, when I went homeless and instead of giving up, the only thing that kept me pushing was my ego, right? I didn't want people to know that I was failing. No one knew in my family that I was sleeping in my car. Like they all thought that I kept having my apartment and everything, and that was not the case. Um, so yeah, ego was the thing that allowed me to push through, and now it's experience that allows me to keep on going.
I appreciate you sharing that, man, because and I commend your hard work. And I think you just showed an example of, I guess in this case, long term, positive side of ego. I know sometimes we talk about ego being a big barrier with relationships, which I agree on. Sometimes our egos get in the way for our own personal benefit. I think you just showcased and gave us an example of how ego kept you going for a positive outcome. You know that you didn't want to give up. You know, you didn't want your family, your immediate family, to look at you like, oh man, like he's a failure. And I don't think you did it for the sake of your family to say he's successful. I think you just said like your ego kept you going because you know you had it in you. So I
Ego, my friends, my family. Like I
yeah.
don't want nobody to know or to look at me and be like, "Oh, see, you were trying." Because like again, everybody was living a completely different life. The majority of my friends I had to cut them off because all they wanted to do was have families, go to work at a refinery here in Houston, get a truck, get together on the weekends, have barbecue, watch soccer games, or go play soccer. And I knew to if I wanted to achieve what I wanted to achieve, that was not the life that was not a life for me. So I couldn't have them look at me be like, "Oh, you see, dude, you should just come do what we are doing." And I didn't want my family to be like, "Oh, so what happened? I thought you were the businessman." Well, like, and again, I was the first person in my family to have a business because I actually wanted to create a business. Normally, in Latin America, people start businesses, but they create those businesses just to satisfy their necessities, not out of ambition, not because they want to build something bigger or greater. So that ego, man, ego is the one thing that kept me pushing, and I'm glad it could have gone the other way, but I mean, it turned out okay for me.
It was a successful bet, man. So again, I commend your hard work and your determination. Um, I want to ask you one of the last few questions I have for you. First of all, thank you again for your time, Jorge. Thank you for joining us. For those listening, I hope you guys have been, maybe jotting some notes down. Go ahead and re-listen, and taking something from Jorge here today. So, AI, obviously, again, back to AI. Lately, a big thing has been taking the AI world has been AI generated music, right? There was a Drake and the Weekend song that went viral, and labels got mad. People get mad like, hey, this is very dangerous. We can see the dangers here, right? uh i I have my own opinions about it, but I want to know what are you seeing with AI, where there's a thin line, right? There's same thing with crypto, right? The regulation, and it's arguable. But with AI specifically, when things like this, AI music, where do you see our dangers? Is this bad? Is this showing the creative process that people can use that? I mean, obviously, using someone else's voice without consent is dangerous. I think that's a very, very tightrope. But I mean, what do you think about this AI music generation? And aside from that, once you answer that, what are you excited about AI in the next few years?
Absolutely, I think that topic specifically, it's amazing, it's fascinating. I think it's what AI it's doing. It's doing two things. One, it's literally becoming the catalyst for a lot of humans or people who they were creative in different ways, but they never knew how to sing. They never knew how to play an instrument. They never knew how to draw, but they have huge ideas. So for those type of people, there it's a catalyst for them, right? Now you can create a picture, art. Now you can create music, like you said, and then you have the other side of people who think this is the end for humanity or for what they're doing and for their industries. And what AI it's actually doing, it's showing us that we humans are not as special as we thought we were, right? In the case of the music industry, they think that by blocking these training models of AI to use their music or their artists, that's going to do something, that's going to do anything, that's going to stop innovation. That's not the case. It's also like a great reminder for artists that to know that, okay, yes, it's your voice, so nobody should be able to use it without your consent. But at the same time, you're a public figure and you're putting music out there. Once you put the music out there, does not it no longer belongs just to you. Now it's part of the culture of the ecosystem. And what we saw, and for example, I saw yesterday, I believe, Grimes, which is it's Elon Musk's ex-wife, I believe. I'm not sure if they're still married or not, but that doesn't matter. Well, Grimes, what she said, look, this is so smart of her. She said that anybody who produces AI songs with her voice, she will split 50-50 royalties with them. That is crazy smart. That is so insane. Now you're gonna have so many people, so many producers, so many you are outsourcing your talent and letting other people collaborate with you, and you're gonna make money out of it. You're gonna profit out of it, and that's the stance that all these music industries need to adopt. They need to understand you cannot stop this. You will never stop this. When Spotify came into play and all these streaming platforms came into place, they completely destroyed the music industry. So they had to figure out a way to monetize, music. And now all of us we know, or if you know a little bit about the music industry, you know that the money in reality for artists is in touring, going to have different concerts all over the world. That's how they make their money. So when it comes to streaming platforms, um, I think, I mean, sorry, when it comes to like the music industry, they, there is no way they can stop it. And what excites me, it's what I said at the beginning. It's AI literally is the catalyst for human creativity. I might not know how to sing, or I might not know how to play an instrument, but I might be able to know put my thoughts into a prompt that allows me to create something that no one ever could have done. Because one, if you are really talented when it comes to writing songs or singing or playing instruments, uh, you the way you approach music or your um, yeah, the way you approach your craft, it's completely different than somebody who is barely experimenting and getting used to it. So that's what I'm the most excited. All the different implement uses and implementations of AI. It's incredible, man. There is this one AI who it's literally been trained to predict breast cancer 4 years before it appears in a woman's body. That is insane. That is amazing. And the fact that we believe that this is going to truly destroy humanity, to me, it's just, it's insane, right? Now, there is the other side, right? There is also a study that predicts that by the year 2030, over 300 million jobs will disappear because of AI. And also thinking that those people will just go and learn new skills, it's also not true. That's just not going to happen. However, I think the upside of having this technology, it's far greater than not having it.
Yeah, like you said, there's so many, to the Grimes thing. I see that as a benefit. Like you said, I'll split the deal like I do with any other artist in the real world. And there's a producer up and coming. I mean, you got YouTube still that could promote very viral sensations. Obviously, we got TikTok and Instagram still, but I think it's important to I guess what some people face is hard to embrace a technology where they're also fearful of the other side, right? Which is normal. I'm part of that crew where it's like, ooh, let's see what happens with this technology. But like you said, we can't stop it. And I think as the both ecosystems mature, more guidelines are in place so that way builders, right, don't get in trouble for innovation, right? That could actually have a net positive in society. So
Right. And just real quick, I'm sorry for interrupting you, brother, but something that also like excites me about AI, it's how this is going to impact school and the way we educate kids, and the education system is going to be transformed completely. And I think it was about time. Before AI, it was almost impossible to figure out how to do it. Now we can literally tailor education for each kid's needs, and that is important. That is amazing, and that's really what has me the most excited, because I went to college, right? My whole idea was, okay, I'm gonna get my degree, then I'm gonna get a master's, and then I'm gonna get my doctors. And then while I was in school, I went to college in 2000, at the end of 2008, at the beginning of 2009, and I was going for marketing and international business. But during that era, the iPhone came out, so everything was changing, and I was seeing it myself. I literally I saw everything shifting completely. The way all of us around the globe started to interact with one another, what's completely different than 20, 30, 50 years ago. So really quickly I learned that in school, in college, they were not going to teach me anything relevant, because by the end I was going to graduate. um, it was literally going to be obsolete. So I was still in college, but I knew that that was my opportunity for me to learn about different things like philosophy, about science, etc., other than business. And I think now we are reaching a point where we can use this technology to actually create curriculums that are truly tailored for people's needs, for what people want to learn, right? You don't need to waste 4 years, because you can learn what they teach you in 4 years in a year and a half. Like literally, they literally are wasting our times in colleges. So I think that's literally the main thing that has me the most excited about this. It's that the fact that it's a catalyst for human creativity, and how this is going to revolutionize the education system forever.
Man, that's a space in itself, man. Education, AI, and how it's gonna be disrupted. I mean, we saw it already with people learning, at home, and now with technology like AI, you essentially could train a personal assistant with information and have it at your fingertips at all times, right? And I think the skill that students will need to learn is how to prompt, right? So, like you said, I would love to have a conversation just on that. But Jorge, the last thing, what some people are going to hear this. It might be their first time coming into this space in both AI, crypto, or this new digital arena. We've talked about your experience as a creator, building newsletters, how to create systems, right? We've touched that. We've touched your perspective on AI and crypto combining, and they don't relate, or you could some way mesh them. We talked about the impact of AI with music and the creative process. Is there any last words you'd like to tell anybody who's maybe starting the journey as a creator, as a builder, or just a consumer in this space, that there's a fundamental principle that they should learn that could help them navigate new information?
Right. Yeah. I would say have really, and I know this is going to sound cliche, but you have to understand, why are you doing the things that you do? If you are creating content, why are you creating content? Are you creating content just because you want to make money? If that's the case, you're going to be up for a rude awakening, because it's going to take time. If you're creating content because you want to share your journey, the journey that you're in, or you want to share with people what you have learned so far or your experience, then that's different. And then at some point you can, because that's the thing, right? The majority of people who start to create content, they see it as a way for them to start monetizing it and to make money out of it and to survive out of it, which is amazing. And that's something, there is nothing wrong with that. However, if you want to start to create content, just understand that it's going to take time, and you have to create the right systems so you are able to be consistent, because consistency is the one thing that's going to separate you from everybody else. There will be people who come in maybe a year after you have been producing content, and maybe they blow up. But again, if they once you blow up, that there is only one thing that's going to happen next. Your fame or whatever popularity you have now is going to disappear, and that's not what you want. So you want to grow steadily. You want to have a steady pace in the way you move through life, especially when it comes to content creation. Just think about it that way. Think about just don't worry about metrics at first. Just start putting value out there. After a few months, then look at the metrics. Okay, what works, what doesn't work. This is what has been working. Okay, now do more of that. But just remember that, create. After a few months, then go back, see what has worked, what hasn't worked. If it hasn't worked, then readapt, analyze why, try different things, experiment. A great example of this is my newsletter, Web3 en Corto. Web3 en Corto, I had it for almost 10 months now. And again, I have barely promoted it. I haven't done any pay advertising, nothing at all. And it's already about to reach already like, oh, it's already past the 800 subscriber mark. And it's I have been experimenting. At first, it started like something completely different. It was like literally just a summary of different news, and then it evolved, and now it's like a daily summary of what has happened in the market, right? Like the most important moves, a few of the news that I have like that caught my eye, that I think have been the most impactful for the ecosystem. And now it used to be like once every 2 weeks, once a week. Now it's like a day-to-day thing. Sometimes I skip it because sometimes I get really busy. But that's why now the next phase of the newsletter, it's having a team, making sure that every single day there is a newsletter going out there, and then scaling, going to the next step, which is creating a website, etc. So remember that it's a process. It takes time, and make sure you plan ahead. You have to know, okay, in month 4 Now this is going to evolve to something different. Month 6 is going to look completely different. Just plan ahead, work, analyze what works, what doesn't work, and then keep improving and keep on going.
Thank you, Jorge. It's a great reminder to always obviously test, throw things out there, get that information, because obviously sometimes our own assumptions, our own mindsets can easily make our conclusions without actually testing the actual idea. And I think that's what holds back people. It's what held me back for years. Is like, I don't think it's going to work because of this, but I don't know how the market's going to react. Clearly, 800 people have entrusted you for providing valuable information, even if it's, not even if it is, but like you said, daily. And if you miss a day, I don't think those 800 people are going to be like, oh man, Jorge messed up. But like you said, you're adapting, and I think people also appreciate that. So Jorge, thank you so much for sharing that. And that concludes it today, man. I want to appreciate it again for your time, for your insight, your wisdom. And I'm very excited for our episode to drop. It'll be out in probably the next hour. So for those of you listening, thank you once again for those who stay the whole way, for those that joined in at the end, in the middle, whatever it may be. This recording will be available obviously on Twitter. It will be available on YouTube. Make sure to check out Vertical Blocks, and obviously please follow Jorge. Maybe sign up for one of his newsletters and stay up to date. But Jorge, thank you so much, hermano. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, brother. No, thank you, man. Thank you for your time. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for having these conversations. I have seen some of the other videos and interviews that you have done, and man, they are fascinating. And I love the work that you are doing, the work that Phantom is doing. Please keep it up, my man. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Jorge. It means a lot to me. And we'll obviously stay in touch. And again, man, thank you so much. Until next time.
Absolutely, brother. Have a beautiful day.
Everyone have a great day. It's Monday, and conquer the week. Let's go.